Hey everyone, it's Sam from Bio Cosplay. In this video, I'm going to continue working on Super Buu. Here's the current state of the new head tail. So quite a bit longer and a little bit more humped at the top. And the little bulb at the end is a little bit smaller. So I'm going to get this covered in duct tape and start drawing on the pattern. Alright, I've got it covered in tape and patterned out. Now I'm going to cut it off and transfer it to paper. So the testing for the foam on the back of the head isn't going great. I realized I would need to glue the upholstery foam to the EVA foam because how else is it going to stick? And the stretching, it doesn't seem to it doesn't seem to stick together very well. So yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I might end up just doing EVA foam for the back of the head and like maybe cutting this up a little bit more. The way the pattern is currently, you can kind of see it'll be relatively snug on the neck, so I just need to trim it up higher, or I have like a magnet situation where I put another strip of foam in here and then magnets over top so it can stick together, if that makes sense. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I ended up doing the back of the head out of EVA foam like the rest of the head, just to try it out. The hole isn't big enough to get my head in, so I'm going to try to cut the hole bigger and see if that works, and if not, we'll take it from there. So I put on the Buu head and popped it off multiple times since putting the back on, just to double check if this is going to be a viable option or not. And I did have a split on the chin here. And when putting it on, it starts to flare out right here a little bit. I think I'm going to glue this back and then cut along this line I have here and taper it up this way as well a little bit. And we'll see if that gives me a little bit more room. When I did both the cut on the chin and on the back of the head, I try to hold the blade in one spot and pull the head around it instead of pulling the blade through it. That way I get more of a rounded, consistent cut instead of getting all jaggedy. That helps for me at least. I think I'm more prone to getting shaky with the blade hand when cutting stuff like that. I'm attempting to make some ears for Buu. And I already have a couple tests here. I'll show you how I did those. This is one I think I'm going to end up keeping. It still needs some shaping on it, but this is the ring that's going to go around the edge. And then in the center, I'm going to have a circle, and that's going to be tapered down to a smaller circle. So let's go ahead and trace that onto some foam. I always spend forever trying to finagle my pattern so I don't waste foam, and instead I should just plop it on there because it's quicker. Ooh, that's a good spot. We'll do that. For the inner circle that I taper it down to, I'm just gonna eyeball that. Not gonna do any exact measurements. I'm bad at cutting circles, so I just cut it as close to the circle as I can, and then I just Dremel it down to the line. Now that it's rounded, I'm going to go back in and taper the edges down and try to round that over a little bit. I rounded over the inside of this top edge a little bit as well, the side that's going to go towards the disc. And now I'm just going to glue the disc along the bottom edge here. And since it's rounded slightly, it's not like fully tapered, then it's going to force this to be slightly rounded over top of this. and make this sort of shape. And then I'll come back in and Dremel this a little bit more and make it look like this one. Yeah, that's the end goal. This one I just messed up because this wasn't quite long enough to glue cleanly, and I cut it a bunch, and yeah, anyway. And now we got extra because I'm bad at patterning, so I gotta trim it until it fits, and I hope I don't trim too much. So I just kind of trim a little bit off at a time until I get there. Alright, so I've got that glued on there. Now I've got to flatten out the back. Right now it's kind of tapered outwards just because of the way the foam got glued. So I'm just going to go around the edge here and trim off the corner it's made. And then I'll take it over to the belt sander and flatten it out that way. These are mostly flattened now. Now I need to kind of scallop out the center a little bit. That way it'll form to the side of the head a little better. Because the head isn't completely flat. It's got a little bit of a curvature to it. So I'm just going to use this tapered bit here to kind of make a little dip in this. I got the ears rounded over on the tops and hollowed out a little bit on the backs. And I just did all that with that tapered bit again. This is the Dremel bit I probably used the most. So I think those are looking okay. Now I just have to spend hours obsessing over the proper spot to put them on the head and then glue them on there. Ears are glued on. I think it's looking pretty good. I always doubt myself, but I'm trying to convince myself that it looks okay. So now I want to cut holes for the eyes so I can progress that step, which is a little stressful because I'm cutting a hole in a thing. I left this part of the eye for now. I feel like it would be cool to have a floating foam eye sticking out over the mesh or whatever I put here. I don't know if it's going to be this specifically. I could just cut this off later and then glue a different section on, but I'll leave it for now. I've dremeled the inside edge of the head tentacle thing. I've been calling it a head tail, but then I looked it up and it said it was a elastic tentacle. Whatever. I'll probably refer to it as both things as I forget its official name. Anyway, I beveled the inside edge of this in preparation to glue it onto the head. So I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on it and then do that. I don't know if I'm actually going to glue it on camera because I'm going to have to hunch over it like a goblin to make sure it glues on there properly. And I don't know if you want to see that. I glued this on crooked, and when I tried to take it off it started ripping, so now the edges aren't going to be smooth, so I have to redo it. So I'm just going to remake this. Okay, so I've remade the tentacle. On the bright side, the bulb at the end came out a little better than before. So the new one's a bit rounder than the old one. This one was like a little oblong and kind of pointy here, which I didn't think was a big deal at the time. But now looking at this one, the bulb on this one definitely looks a little better. I was having some issues with the seams wanting to stay together on the new one, so they're a little gross looking, a little bit rough. So I had to go back in and put more barge and close them up. I don't know if it's just because it was cold yesterday when I was putting this together, or what the deal was, or if it's just the curvature of this or what it was. But I kept wanting to pop apart, but I think it's situated now. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun a little, try to get it to be a nice natural roundness. Normally after you glue seams together, if you hit it with the heat gun, it'll relax the foam a bit. And then I'm going to try to clean up these seams a little bit. Got all the seams smoothed out now. I think it's looking pretty good. I mostly did this just with some 400 grit sandpaper just because, I don't know, I just wanted to zone out and kind of sand away at this for a while. And I think it turned out pretty good. The seams are real smooth. Sometimes with a Dremel, if you're not careful, you'll get little dips right where the bit hits. But you don't really have to worry about that with sandpaper. So That was good at least. For this next attempt at gluing the tentacle on, I'm just slowly doing it in sections with the help of my wife. So we've got this much done so far, and I'm just going to swap back and forth from side to side. And so now I'm going to do this little section, and then we'll swap back, etc. until we get to the front. And hopefully that won't cause any issues along the way. Alright, as you can see, we got it glued on there. With the help of my wife, we went in very small sections. I didn't film it because it was awkward to have the camera here and have us both trying to hold this, so I didn't think I would get a good shot of it anyway. But basically, glued it to these two seams here. So we stuck that down and then glued in very small sections, like just to each of these marks here. So from that seam to that mark, from that seam to that mark, there to there, there to there. And then at the end, all of this up to the point. I glued down at once because I figured it'd be too awkward to try to stick one side and stick the other side. But yeah, it helped a lot to have two people doing this. I guess if you're more coordinated than me, you could manage it on your own, but I could not. And I think it came out pretty cool looking. I was pretty upset that the first tentacle got messed up, but I think in the end that the bulb on the end of this one looks a lot better. So I think it's gonna be okay. I do think I'm gonna cut off these pupils. I like the concept of having the foam pupils there over top of mesh or whatever I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have to look up like whatever fursuit makers use. If they use scrim or something like that, I don't. Reason being, you can see from the side it sticks way too far out from the eye. But if I can make another one and put it back here, inset in the eye more, and then behind that glue the fabric or whatever I'm gonna put to obscure my eyes, I think that'll look pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off with the X-Acto knife, and then gonna start mapping out where the mouth goes. There it is without it, and then here's kind of an idea of what it would look like. Set further back in there. I think that would be kind of cool. He's getting there. I think the silhouette definitely looks like a Dragon Ball villain. I don't know if the execution of the eyebrows and the ears are perfect, or if the cheeks are perfect, but I do think it has the silhouette, at the very least. I got a spandex athletic shirt for the base of the Buu body, and I ended up going with this one because it has like a turtleneck sort of situation. You can see here it's got a really tall neck. We even trimmed it off some. It was advertised as like having a mask built in, some sort of athletic COVID fashion. And I wanted the longer neck so that I can put foam muscles going up on the back and the front of the neck and can kind of sit up against the head. As you can see here, there's a zipper in it now. My wife put the zipper in for me because I'm not good at sewing, and she is. Also, it's got the fabric overlapping the zipper a little bit, so it'll hide it a little bit better. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. I think it'll work out. Oh yeah, now I can start gluing the muscles. Well, after I cut the muscles out, I can start gluing them on. I've got Buu's mouth marked out. I drew it on with marker at first, and then there were a bunch of different Sharpie lines, so that's why I put masking tape, so it didn't look as chaotic. I could focus on the placement kind of high, but Buu has a pretty high mouth on his face. Here's the figure I've been using as reference. You can see there's not a whole lot of space between the eyes and the mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out with the X-Acto knife. Kind of hard to fit Buu's head on the camera now that he's got his tentacle glued on. There it is with the mouth cut out. Here you can see all my other test lines. I think it's looking pretty okay though. I decided to try on the Buu head with the muscle suit I made previously. I have a video series on how I did that. I'll put below. I'm going to be making one specifically for Buu, but I wanted to try it on just to see what it would look like. And that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see more of my work, follow me on social media. And I'll see you next time.